Hi, folks, and welcome to Money and Politics. It's Tuesday, November 2nd, and I'm glad to have you back with me. I'm going to be talking about a couple of things today, not so much as I've talked a lot about Humble, and we cover Humble all the time, but today we had Zynex come out with their third quarter earnings, and I want to bring that to your attention. I did tweet as they announced earlier today. I tweeted about that, so if you want to follow me on Twitter, I'm more of a video guy than a Twitter guy. However, let's see what we can do right off the bat here. Humble is in between things, so that's why I say there's nothing there necessarily right now. We're waiting for their third quarter earnings. I haven't as yet heard when those will be coming, but I would expect it would be sometime in the next, 2 weeks or so. We'll see. So going back about 3 months ago, I interviewed Thomas Sandgaard, who is from Denmark, but he is the CEO and founder of Zynex. And that was founded about 20 years ago, if I remember right. They are headquartered in Denver, and they had their third quarter earnings. So here are the highlights of the earnings call that was this afternoon. The earnings per share were 17 cents versus an estimate of 12 cents a share. Revenues of $34.8 million, which was a 74% increase year over year. The gross margins were an incredible 80% in Q3. That's like drug dealers get. 80% in Q3, and net income was $6.1 million. Both revenues and income were the highest in the history of the company. Now, currently, they have 430 sales reps. Their sales reps are expected to bringing in, I should say, about $325,000 a year in sales. The company thinks they can get that much higher, maybe as much as $1 million a year per salesperson, which would be a phenomenal increase in the company's gross revenue. But let's say they can go from $325,000 to $500,000. That would be a huge move. And the company says that they are going to be increasing the number of sales reps they will have by the time we get to the end of 2022. So by the time we get to January of 2023, they expect to have somewhere between 500 and 600 sales reps. They are very active in both hiring sales reps, and they're very active in firing sales reps who are not performing. So they're really moving, and the company is growing along very well. Thank you. If you look at this, I wanted to say the overall for the year, they gave some guidance, and they said they think their full year revenues would be 130 to 133 million. 130 to 133 million. I want to compare that to what we had last year in 2020, when the overall revenues for the year in 2020 were $80 million. So they're going to project going from $80 million in gross revenues to as much as 130 to 133 million. That would be an increase of 50 or $53 million, which is a hell of a increase in the revenue numbers. And on the earnings potential, they said they had $9 million bottom line. And as I said earlier, their net income for just this quarter was $6 million. So they're going to easily outperform that as well. If you don't recall, the company sells devices which block pain. So it's a non-pharmaceutical treatment of pain to manage the pain. And that's really good because we, as they noted, the country, I should say, is having many fatalities from opioid overdose, and this is a way. And plus, even people who don't overdose can become addicted when they're taking opioids and they're being treated for pain. So this is an electronic way, a device that puts attachments, and it blocks the pain that the patient has. Some of these people might be in constant pain from a car accident or some other malady. Sometimes it's a temporary treatment of pain following perhaps some kind of surgery or accident. But these devices do have to be prescribed. So big news, wonderful quarter for Zynex on that. And I don't have Mr. Sangard locked up as yet for an interview, but I hope to do that. Now, just taking a quick look at some of the other things we have been following, and we've just had the earnings a week ago today on InMode, and you see here a 5-day chart. So InMode has continued to climb, barely being ahead. That's a all-time high here, I think. Barely above where it was by 1 cent, but you can't go up 6% every day. And if we look down the road, I mean, just at a 1-month chart, this has been a company that has just continued the whole year. This is your year-to-date chart, continued to grow significantly over the whole year. And again, I have said before, this is a favorite of mine, and we are looking to increase what this per share price and the revenues, and I think that this is a company, again, that you want to be holding on to for a prolonged period of time. When I look at some of the other companies, there was also some big jumps. I haven't covered this very much, but I have talked about both Voyager and big digital assets, and these are kind of plays on the crypto thing. You got big digital assets is now $1.34. That was up over 11% today, about 13 cents a share. And Voyager, which is a currency kind of like Coinbase, Canadian-based platform, and that was up 9% today. That's now at $15.93. There is some discussion by some, and I think I did mention this, that there are some that think this will be at $40 within 3 to 6 months. It is currently $15.93, so almost $16. ILUS up to 37 cents. It's still in that kind of trading range that it's been in for a while, about 35 cents to 38 cents. So right now it's at 37 cents, but that was a gain today of 8.5%. Those are primarily the things of note. TQQ, which I've also talked about many times, the leveraged index, 3 times the leverage index on the NASDAQ 100, was up 1.3% today. It is now at $158.78, so close to $116. Wasn't that long ago. It actually took a dip and was down to about 115. I think that was back around September. So here we are 2 months later, and it's approaching 160. So this is where, folks, I know for all of you want movement on Humble, and we all want movement on Humble. I also would advise you to not put all your money into one stock. I had a friend today who called, and I was reminding him because he sold INMND. He was in at $35, and now when you look at it, it is at $97 after a 2-for-1 split. That's the equivalent almost of $200. He was in at 35, but he sold it along the way to put that money that he had in InMode into Humble. No matter how excited you get about a particular stock, and I am still excited about Humble, but because Humble is a startup, it's going to take a while for those investments to pan out. I think they will. But when we're talking about InMode, when we're talking about Zynex, when we're talking about other stocks here, these are stocks that are not startups and have been operating for a while. As I said, Zynex has been around for about 20 years. InMode has been around publicly traded since 2019, so just about a little over 2 years publicly traded, but they are about 5 years old, I believe, in the history of their company. So that's what I would say is, as always, you have to decide where you want to put your money. I wanted to bring this to your attention, and I think that Zynex, because of the number of sales reps they have, because they are demonstrating that they are growing their top line and their bottom line, and they're doing it with wonderful margins, 80% margins in Q3. That's fantastic. So you decide, folks, where you want to put your money. But I think Zynex is a very interesting company. InMode's a very interesting company. I'm considering that in both cases, these are companies that will continue to grow for a number of years ahead. 2, 3, 5, we'll have to reevaluate every year as we go along. Humble, I think, will move, but it may, it could always be, it's a dynamic company, as I said before. Humble's dynamic. It could go from where it is today to who knows where on an announcement of higher revenues than expected, of an announcement of another purchase, any number of things. But barring that, I think that we're going to have probably to be just in somewhat of a trading range until we get into maybe the early spring, right around when baseball restarts. We might have to be waiting for about that time period. The other thing is, and this is something to keep in mind, Humble, unlike these other companies, is on the OTC. And on the OTC, you're getting all these shorts. You're getting, the FUD, the crazy commentators, the bashers, and you just got to put up with that. You really, it's kind of a, with all due respect to the OTC, it draws an unattractive crowd. It's a little bit like living in the ghetto compared to moving up to the east side, I guess. And anyway, if once down the road, when Humble gets uplisted, as I expect they will eventually to NASDAQ, that's going to grow. It's just with Humble, folks, where you're going to have to do some waiting on there. Anyway, I'll let you go for now. Thanks so much for watching. Leave your comments if you would, and tell me what you think. Are you looking to buy any of InMode? Are you looking to buy any of Zynex? What do you think about the earnings and platforms of each? And lastly, if you have another company that you are particularly hot on, tell me what that is, and tell me why you think that's going to grow, and I'll take a look at it. But for now, I'll say goodbye, and thanks as always for watching. Hopefully, I'll see you tomorrow night.